Welcome to my teaching learning session, and we are going to start with the course PGLA 136 English at Workplace. So, the block one covers exploring the job market. Let's see what are our objectives here. So, whenever you're applying for a job, what are the things that you need to keep in mind? And since this paper, which is called English at Workplace, so here we are going to look at the terms and the conduct, the behavior pattern, the protocols that you're going to follow at workplace. So with block one, and block one is exploring the job market, and unit one is profiling oneself for the job. So how do you profile yourself for the job? What are the objectives for this? First, we are going to look at the qualities which are necessary at workplace. Secondly, we are going to look at the behavior at new workplace. Third, writing profiles for others using clues or hints. Fourth is reading profiles of successful people and imbibing those qualities. Next is work specific vocabulary. That's another thing that we are going to cover today. Now, last would be understanding language structure, which is related to work space. So, if we look at all these points briefly, qualities which are necessary at workplace. So once you are at the workplace, because there are certain protocols which are being followed at different places in different ways. So if you are, let's say, if you are in a classroom, the protocols which come along with the conduct or with your behavior pattern will differ from the behavior that you show at your workplace, right? And of course, there is a transition also as a student from a student, and right now the phase that we are in, and when you come and sit in the classroom. So let's imagine a classroom at school. Okay, so think of the protocols that you were following during your school days, and the protocols which you are following when you are in university, when you are at a college, when you are same. The ambience is same. You have a classroom, you have a teacher, you have the blackboard, whiteboard, and there is lecture going on. But can you think of the differences that you observe when you talk about school or university? One difference which immediately strikes is school uniform, right? School uniforms are something that you have to wear during your school days, in India at least. And then when you come to college, of course, the uniformity, when you say school uniform, what is school uniform? It is a system of creating a uniformity among students without having any sort of discrimination based on the, and also because there is a sense of equality, there is a sense of discipline, and as well as there is no discrimination on the basis of class, right? I mean, when people wear outfits which could be their personal dressing sense or fashion, but when you come to the classroom in a school, then there is the same outfit which has been assigned to each student. However, when you come to college, the the inhibition or the restriction regarding your attire, it becomes a little flexible, right? Now, when we talk about, let's move a little forward from here and talk about the outfits that you're wearing at your workplace. Again, there is a certain sense of uniformity and discipline which is required. For example, corporate dressing, right? So, if you're going to a meeting or if you're giving a presentation in your office, there has to be a certain, and in school or probably or in other places, the dress code is pretty strict. It is out there, and it forms a rule or a regulation in that institution. But when you are at a workplace, let's do example of corporate. So there, it's not really that you have been given a particular outfit that everybody has to wear. It's a dress code that you need to follow. You are expected to follow. There is a difference of restriction, and expectation. Right? So now that is your dress code at workplace. Now, when we talk about qualities necessary at workplace, what are the qualities that you can think of? First is that one has to be um, on time, punctuality. One has to use the conversation or the communication they are going to use, that has to be in tandem with the environment of the office, right? You cannot use any such language that is offensive to other people. Okay. Other than that, the discipline, the protocol, the conversation, communication. Other than that, you are also expected to fulfill the deadlines. Right? You are expected to follow work ethics. By work ethics, we mean that if you are being paid for something, then it is expected of you that you are going to give your best performance, because that will enhance your skills. Secondly, that will also help the company that you work for, or the organization that you work for. It will help, your contribution will help it grow. So this is not something that has to be told to one person. I mean, the minute or the moment you join any organization and you are being paid for your skills and your labor, it becomes your ethical responsibility to add to the growth of that organization, right? So there are qualities like that which are necessary at workplace. Is there anything else that you can think of? So just give it a thought and note it down in a piece of paper. Think of the job that you're going to apply for, and then look at the expectations that an employer might have, or that organization might have from you. And on the other side, you see if you fulfill those responsibilities, if you fulfill those expectations already, or is there something that one can work upon, right? So these are the qualities which are necessary at workplace. Behavior, again, like we spoke about, the dress code, or the communication that you have with other people. It has to be polite, it has to be respectful, it has to be unbiased, right? And it has to be motivating. At any workplace, or for that matter, any institution or organization, if the communication that you have is encouraging, motivating in nature, then you probably are heading towards mutual growth, which is very important for any organization, any institution to grow. No institution can thrive in isolation. Okay, one organization cannot reach its pinnacle as a solitary, um, with solitary efforts. Okay, it has to be teamwork. It has to be group efforts. And when all the stakeholders in that organization give the best of their output, that is when you see that a particular organization becomes a very massive force and sees really good growth, right? So these are the behaviors that are expected, and of course, that you don't litter around, you do not smoke where people are. You have smoking zones, so if then you do not you throw the waste in the dustbins. You keep your surroundings hygienic, right? So things like these must be taken care of. Now, third is writing profiles for others using CloserHit. So we'll see how we can write profiles for other people. Let's say if we have to recommend a certain person, and we look at the traits that they have. So what are the traits that they have, and how can we utilize it to the advantage of the organization or the company that the participant is a part of. Now, um, so this is going to be an exercise where one portion would be where you are writing profiles for others. Another portion would be where you are writing profile for yourself, self profile, right? And it is more than often very difficult to say something, or you know sometimes if we have to praise somebody else, it's much easier. But if we have to talk about ourselves, then modesty or humility sometimes comes in between. But the problem is that if you have to recommend somebody else, so the way you are going to promote them, bring out their positive qualities, while recommending, you're going to be very generous with the compliments or the description of that person. Similarly, when we do self profiling, that has to be there, but more than often we do not feel very comfortable, talking about our own selves. So that can be a little bit more difficult. Although you know yourself the best, nobody knows you better than you do because you have lived with yourself for so many years. But still, it becomes a bit difficult when you have to talk about yourself. Not with everybody, but a lot of people can experience that. So, in that situation, what you need to think is that the way, if you, let's say, if you go and eat very good ice cream somewhere, okay, or if you go to a restaurant, you have amazing food there, or you read a book and it was, or a movie and it was really good, so you're going to go recommend it to other people and you will be very generous with the things that you liked about it, right? So that, because you want the other person to get that experience, because they have not had that experience until now, so you are recommending them something which is going to give them a good experience. Similarly, when it comes to job, if you are um, going to recommend somebody to someone, okay, you will be obviously, you do the same thing that you do with things when you recommend them. You are going to talk about that person, you are going to highlight their positive. But being inhibited when you have to talk about yourself is something which must be avoided, because if you know that you are a very good candidate for that particular position, why would you not talk about yourself? I don't think there is any reason for modesty to be at display when you know that you are an asset which is going to add growth to that company, and you too need that company to give you the space or the scope to grow. Okay, so it's a mutually beneficial association, and by selling yourself less or by not putting yourself out there properly, you are probably, not only doing an injustice to yourself but also to the organization, which might benefit from a person like you. So be very, very confident and be very, very honest, genuine. I mean, I'm not saying that you have to add fake profiling, or you do have to exaggerate. Okay, so there is a thin line between exaggeration and reality, right? And that line must be maintained. So now this was writing profiles for others using cues or hints. Now reading profiles of successful people and imbibing those qualities. What do we mean by that? Reading profiles of successful people. So sometimes, you go and read motivational books, right? Let's say if you're somebody who is planning to start a business, or you get into, entrepreneurship, then you might get inspired. There are challenges that you will face, there are obstacles which will come, and you might benefit more by reading biographies of people who have taken the same road, okay, similar road maybe. So if you, you read their experiences, you might be able to benefit yourself, because that's the road that they have taken already. So you'll be in a better position because you're learning from the learned. You do not have to commit the same mistakes. So sometimes we read books, autobiographies, biographies, or the journey of someone or something, to learn and derive learnings from their experiences. Similarly, when you read profiles of successful people, how they have, when you start creating their profiles, then you realize what are the things that should be included in the personality of a person or in the profile of a person, right? Now, next is work specific vocabulary. And this is very interesting because we see that a lot of jargons are being used, and it's very industry based jargons which are being used. So it might become very, 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 very something that people are very used to in that particular industry. But you go and you talk about this to a person from a different industry who has nothing to do with that expertise, will find it intimidating, or maybe will find it something that they cannot comprehend, right? So the work specific vocabulary is something that makes communication easier in that particular industry. And it must stay, one must know how not to mix these two, because like this paper we are talking about English at workplace, but in the previous this paper BGLA 135, which is English in daily life. So there, we discussed a lot of things about how to communicate, how to start daily communication, social chit chat, right? So there were a lot of things that one had to keep in mind, even in general communication. So obviously, the workplace communication has to be more nuanced. So if we talk about work specific vocabulary, you cannot go ahead and use these jargons while making a social chit chat with people, right? The communication that you have in daily life. The topics. So, to be a good communicator, the choice of topics is very important. Know your audience, right? You cannot start talking about let's say your deadlines, or maybe your deadlines you can talk about that, but your projects which you are covering at your workplace, you cannot go and start talking about that to somebody you meet probably in a metro, right? So your communication has to be very specific to the context and the audience, right? So, work specific vocabulary, we are going to look at what are the terms, general terms which are being used at workplace, and the industry based jargons. So, last but not the least, understanding language structure related to workspace. So, understanding language structure related to workplace is something that we will again cover later in this section. Let's to unit one, profiling oneself for the job. So, okay, warm up. Look at these sentences from a conversation between two friends looking for a job. Let's look at this conversation, all right? Salman, final year of college is almost getting over, and I'm so confused about life. I don't know what kind of job I want. What about you? So we are just going to analyze, okay? We are going to analyze these everything that these two people are talking about. So Salman, what is Salman saying here? The final year of college is almost getting over. So you see the anxiety, which would be dominant on anybody's mind. Let's say if you're in the first year, second year, you have a plan that you have to finish this degree. But once you're in third year, maybe what next? Placements are forgotten. What is the next thing that you're going to do? So again, it's the time like in school, you have to make a choice between science, commerce, humanities. Then when you are about to come to college, you have to make a choice towards the specialization that you are going to do, the course that you are going to take admission in. Once you take admission, you become a bit relaxed because you know that the task at hand is to finish this degree properly. But once you are near to that is during your final year of your college, then you realize that it's time to go ahead and get a job, and also there is a lot of placement and stuff happening. So that anxiety and unpredictability of how you are going to get the job and what is going to happen, that could create anxiety, and it's like a common pattern. Anybody, let's say there are students in one class in final year, all of them are saying that placement have begun and some of them are getting selected. So there will be a certain anxiety. So just read between the lines, and you see the final year of college is almost getting over, and I'm so confused about life. I don't know what kind of job I want. So again, there are different phases in life when you are in a decision making process, and it comes up on a daily basis we are making decisions, right, from the morning, at what time to wake up. When you snooze your alarm, so your plan was to wake up at 6 a.m., but you wake up at 7 or 6:15. That's a choice that you are making even when you are not fully awake, right? So life is a lot about choices, and more than often some choices have long-term impact, and seeking a job is that kind of that kind of a decision or a choice, because you're going to be stuck. If you make a bad choice, then you're going to be stuck with this job for the rest of your life, and nobody should do something that they don't really enjoy, right? So your um, anxiety shouldn't take over, and your competitiveness should not take over your inclination, your expertise. You might be good at something, but under pressure, you take up a job, and then you find that the job is making you disenchanted. It is not something that you enjoy. So anyway, your productivity level will go down, right? So one has to be very clear. And how communication helps in this is that when you talk to other people, not only talking to your own classmates, or maybe like he is talking to this person who is in the same sailing in the same boat. Amir and Salman, they're sailing in the same boat. They're looking for a job, but it is always a good idea to speak to people who have worked in that field, who are probably a couple of years senior, so that you know what are the challenges which one has to face as a new or young person in a certain field. Other than that, you can also talk to people who have been in that industry or in that company for more than 10 years to 15 years, so that they can give you the realistic picture. Because you want to continue with this job. If you're going to take it, if you're studying so much, you're going to take this job, and you're probably going to work for the next 30 years in the same or similar field. So one needs to have a proper clarity, and that's why you have all these career counseling services now, or career counselors who come in the visit the college or the schools, so they could give you clarity. So information is a very important tool. If you do not have the right information, you're going to make wrong choices. So rather than letting the expectations of others, or very superficial idea of something, it is always better to do thorough research and find out where do you stand, what is needed, and are you really inclined towards this particular thing? Is this something that you can do for next 30, 40 years? All right. So final year college. So don't be confused, right? And just discuss, research, so that you know what is your expertise and what kind of job would be best suited for you. Now, what Amir has to respond to this is that I know that I want a job with a decent salary. So, somewhere a very mercantile approach, you know that you want a decent salary. Everyone wants a decent salary. Who doesn't want to get paid well for what they are doing, with the efforts that they are putting in? So, that's like a very basic expectation. But here in Amir's priority, it seems like money is playing a huge factor, and which is fine enough, because eventually most of the people who are going for jobs, who are working, they're doing it for salary. So he might have a ballpark figure in his mind. Does he have that? If not, then maybe you should think about that. So look at what Salman says, but you must be having some job objectives. You must have some job objectives. So again, um, there is a contradiction. There is somewhere Salman is questioning the same thing that I'm talking about. That you have a ballpark figure in your mind, maybe, maybe not. You want a good salary, but do you also look at other objectives which are important, right? Objectives. For example, what are the working hours, right? How many holidays are being given? Okay, what are the responsibilities associated with this job? So Amit says my objectives are very simple. I want security of service and an opportunity to win in life. So he has a certain clarity. He wants good money, he wants security, and he wants an opportunity where he can hone his skills, develop it. Right? Okay. Now Salman says, but everyone tells me one should have long term as well as short term goals. Have you thought about that? So, now we see that there are short term goals, there are long term goals. Short term goals could be like, I have to become this, and like 2 years, 4 years, I have to make my salary this much. But there are long-term goals also, like retirement plans, security, after a pension, after a certain age, people look for that. So there, a family life, will they be able to manage something like this with the family? So there are a lot of other factors. What we get out of this conversation is that it is very important to get from this section and also the previous one. It's very important that you note down. First, you talk about what are your talents, what are your qualities. Secondly, the jobs which are suited to those talents. Then you look at the pros and cons of each industry, right? And then you can make a note of the short-term goals and long-term goals, right? So objectives must be clear. Okay. So in your book, in 1.2, you have a reading comprehension passage on Bill Gates. Okay. So there are questions which are given there. Read those, and then you have to answer these questions. Now, these questions, answering these questions will also tell you how to profile somebody else. Okay. So when you read that passage on that is Bill Gates, you see there are a few questions. Who is Bill Gates? Second, what is Microsoft Corporation? Okay. Third is, why did Gates start Microsoft Corporation? Fourth, what is the mission of Microsoft? Fifth, besides being interested in computers, what are the two other things Gates is known for? Sixth, what are the things Gates likes to do in his leisure time? So when you are profiling a successful person, successful in the mercantile terms in the industry, um, so you have to look at these questions. Who's the person? What is the company that has given him so much name and fame? Um, how did he start this journey? Okay, because everything has to be started from somewhere, right? It was not all built well and built well and then given to him. So, how did he start Microsoft Corporation? And what is the mission of Microsoft? So, similarly, this thing you can do for yourself. First, you look at who are you, right? What are your talents, expertise? What do you enjoy? Okay. Then you can look at your future plan, what you want to do, right? How do you plan to start this? If you have a certain plan, what is the way, what is the course of action that you'll be taking? Now, fourth is, what is the mission of Microsoft? So whatever you are going to do, what is the long-term, short-term objective? Now, next is being interested in computers. What are the other things Gates is known for? So, what are the other areas of interest besides that? That is something you can also look at. That your other areas of interest, do they coincide with the main thing that you are taking up right now? Right? Okay. Now, what are the things Gates likes to do in his leisure time? Okay, so these are the questions through which you are going to create a profile of a successful person. And looking at that profile helps in creating a plan for your own self. For example, if Gates has such a successful, company, despite that, there are things that does for his leisure. So, what are the things that you would like to do? And you would like to have the time for that even when you are working and you're busy. So, you have to, this will give you clarity, right? And you could also derive some inspiration when you're profiling successful people. Now, profiling oneself for the job. So, personal, social, and professional qualities. And let's look at the vocabulary, right? So, take 1 minute and think about. I've given you an example. Look at your book and open this 1.3 vocabulary section and see what are the terms that you can add. First is personal, second is social, third is professional. You have a set of words there. Look at them and just pick the words and put them in the right category. I'll give you 30 seconds to do that. Okay. So personal, visionary, hardworking. These are the personal traits. Look at the other term. Social is friendly, helpful. It helps you develop connections and forge stronger bonds with your colleagues, with your subordinates, with your seniors, right? What a professional, I mean, you could be a very nice person, you could be a very polite person, but in an organization, what matters is that are you able to add productivity? So, all these personal and social qualities, these are added advantage. Main thing that a company expects from you or an organization expects from you is that you are helping them grow, you are adding to the growth of the company as well as to the productivity, right? So that's there. Now, talking about oneself, there is another passage that you have there. It is on Sam Emerson. So the earlier you talked about a person from the corporate and the IT sector. Now let's talk about a sports person. So these are two different profiles altogether. So could be is there can you just answer these questions and see what are the differences? Okay, what are the what are the basic minute? I mean, obviously the questions are on the same. Who is this person? What are their achievements? What are the qualities that impress you? What are the qualities that the person has? What are their interests, hobbies? What do they do in their leisure? Remember, and Bill Gates also we were talking about what do they do in their leisure time. So all these things are there. But when you are profiling for a sports person, the vocabulary in the purpose section we talked about vocabulary. So the vocabulary that you use will be very different from what you used in the previous section. For example, with this Microsoft Corporation, you're going to talk a lot about computers and technology, right? So a lot of technological revolution and now, when we come to sports, then we are going to talk about sports. So, if you are going to talk about Sanya Mirza's professional, professional vocabulary, professional qualities, then you have to be aware of the terms which are being used in sports, right? You will not be able to define that person. Let's say if you have to praise an artist, you can a simple way to say that is, oh, this is very beautiful painting. But if you're going to if you're going to appreciate the art or the artist in a better way, you have to be aware of the what is the genre that they are following and what type of art are they to appreciate. That's why you have all these critical appreciation courses. Even to appreciate or criticize something, you need to have a certain understanding of that field. Otherwise, you'll not be able to answer. So you can talk about it in general terms. You can talk about how Sanya Mirza is a good player. But in order to give a proper description, you have to be aware of the sports that she is in, um, how has excelled in it. There will be a certain level of information and knowledge that is required. So when you're profiling somebody else, you need to look into their background as well as the background of the tasks or the background of the profession that they are in, right? Now, this was talking about profiling the successful people. Now, if one has to give a self profile, so this is important because most of you will have to do this as you apply for jobs and you talk to people. So that inhibition of do not sell yourself short. Okay, so if you have something, you have to talk about it. You have to talk about it in a very convincing, um, non-intimidating way. Right? So self-profile to people who do not know you. You can use the following hints. Give your full name, age, date of birth, etc. Um, okay, so whatever you're going to speak, first write it on a notepad. Your name, age, date of birth, etc. Tell something about your educational background, schooling or college, etc. Okay? Say what you wish to do in life. Talk about a special achievement and how you managed to get success. Describe some of your personality traits or qualities. Talk about your hobbies, interests in life, and any secret wish or desire you may have. So you can take a screenshot of this, or this will be available in your book also. Take a notepad and start creating this. Let's say if you do not want to give your age and date of birth, or if it is not required, it is not mandatory, you might just skip that. Okay, you should, but you should know that what is the employer expecting? What are the information that he or she will totally be interested in? So obviously your education background will like to know what you wish to do in life, what is your ambition. And now that you were talking about successful people, but everyone has successful moments in their life. So what are your such moments when you were able to get a lot of success or anything? It could be from an exam to a competition. How you talk about it matters a lot. Okay. Some of your personality traits and qualities. So, when you are doing it for yourself, you could also write down what are the negative traits that you have because it helps you know what you need to work on. And if one starts working on themselves in nascent stages, there's a lot of scope for development and growth, right? So you do not go to an interview and start talking about your negative traits because everyone has negative and positive traits. What you need to do is um, that's probably for your own reference and for your own understanding. But whatever achievements that you have made till date, whatever educational qualifications you have, whatever skills-based qualification that you have, you need to talk about that to the employer. A very important thing here is that you do not um, do not exaggerate because people who are sitting in the interview room and interviewing so many people, they already can figure out if something is very exaggerated, right? And nobody wants to imply deceitful. So this last point, talk about your hobbies, interests in life, and any secret wish or desire you may have. If you look at what are the things Gates likes to do in his leisure time, then you know, what are Sania's interests and hobbies. So you see, even these successful people, they need recreational time. They need time to, relax. It's and their hobbies are therapeutic for them. So you need to talk about you too will need we all need those moments of leisure. So you need to keep that in your mind as long-term plan because you don't want to get burned out and not have any hobbies. Okay. So this was about self-profiling. Now let's look at WH questions. Statement. So, what do you do whenever you have a statement? It is very easy. This is a little grammar tip that we are going to discuss now. So, it is very easy to convert a statement into question. So, you know WH questions: who, what, where. So, let's see if you have a statement. Bill Gates is the chairman of Microsoft Corporation. So, this is a statement. How do you convert it into a question? Very easy. You put is. Okay. Is Bill Gates the chairman of Microsoft Corporation? So you pick the is from after Bill Gates and put it before Bill Gates, right? Is Bill Gates the chairman of Microsoft Corporation? Second is Bill Gates continued to be the chairman of Microsoft Micro Corporation in February 2014. Now the question part would be, did Bill Gates continue to be the chairman of Microsoft Corporation till February 2014? Alright. Now, another way of making a question sentence is by using do, does, and did in front of the subject. Do and does are used in the sentences with the simple present tense, and did is used in the sentences with the simple past tense, as in the following sentences. Plants grow quickly. Do plants grow quickly? So, see how adding do, does, before do, does, did. When you put them before the subject, you can create questions. So plants grow quickly. Question, you add a do before plants. Do plants grow quickly? Okay. Second is the sun rises in the east. Now you add does. Does the sun rise in the east? Okay. Third is Sandeep got up late yesterday. That's a statement. Now, a question would be, did Sandeep get up late yesterday? Now, one thing that you need to notice is you look at the form of the verb. Got up, get up. Okay, it will not because you've already used did, right? So did is already conveying a sense of past, right? So did Sandeep get up late yesterday? So you will not say did Sandeep got up late yesterday? No. Sandeep got up late yesterday. Okay. When you put it in the question form, did Sandeep get up late yesterday? So remember, whenever you are using did, okay, you do not have to change the form of the verb, right? Next, sentence one. We will look at the sentence one, plants grow quickly, do plants remember? Into a question by applying do before the plural subject plants. Do plants grow quickly? Now, if it would have been plant, if it was not plants, if it was just plant, one plant. So, what will be the sentence then? Think about it and answer it, okay? Okay. There is no change in the form of the verb grow, okay? Because you already applied do. Sentence 2 has been changed into a question. This sentence, the sun rises in the east, has been changed into a question by putting does before the singular subject sun. The ending es in the verb rises has been dropped from the verb. Okay? The sun rises in the east, you apply does, so it becomes does the sun rise in the east? Okay? So you see that the form of the verb changes when you apply um, it sometimes changes and sometimes it stays in the same form because you're using did. Okay, the term that you're using to make it a question sentence is already doing the justice to the tense, so you do not need to change the form of the verb. Now, the ending es in the verb rises has been dropped from the verb. We use does with he, she, it. So whenever you have singular nouns, okay, in the subject position, you use does with he, she. Okay. Now, look at sentence 3. It has been changed into a question by putting did before the subject. That is Sandeep. The past tense of the form of the past tense form of the verb got up has been already we talked about this. But the past tense form of the verb got up has been changed into the simple present tense form of the verb get up. Right? You can try writing more sentences. Look at your book and practice this. And just check if you're doing it correctly. Try using more. Look at open a page in the book. Look at the sentences and convert all of them. At least take 10 sentences and convert them in question forms. Then check the sentences that you have written. Um, you know, is it correct? If not, what is that you have done wrong there grammatically? Alright. So now, writing a profile. Right. Now, earlier, what we have done, we have talked about profiling successful people. Then, how do you write a profile for successful people? Then we talked about writing profile for our own selves, right? And how we could take inspiration from successful people's profile, right? Now we are going to talk about writing a profile for any person in your college, workplace, anywhere. So, what are the questions that you need to pick up? And also remember that these questions are also helpful. You will see that there is a similarity between the questions that were used for successful people, then uh, then you had your own self, and now you're doing it for somebody else who's probably your colleague or your classmate. The questions are almost same. Who is he or she? When you're writing for yourself, who am I? What is my name? And your introduction. What is his, her educational background? Same when we are doing it for our own selves. What is the educational background? In which department does she or he work? So if they are already working and they're not applying for the job, they're in your workplace, then what is the department or designation that they work at? Let's say if this person is in your college, right? So what course has he finished? Right? That could be one thing. What course has he finished? What is he going to apply for? Then what work does he or she do? So basically, you have to, in order to create a profile for somebody else or for your own self, you need to always keep this in mind that this is the what you are going to mention would be the reasons for which somebody would hire you or disqualify you from the process. Okay. What are his or her personal and professional qualities? So remember, we created three sections where first we talked about personal qualities, social qualities, professional qualities. Personal and social are very important, but if you're not fulfilling your professional obligations and if you do not have the expertise or the talent for that, then your personal and social, you know, talents wouldn't make much difference because nobody is going to pay someone for being sweet or being nice or being helpful. Uh, a company is going to hire you for your skills, for your productivity level, for the contribution that you make to the company. So let's say if you're somebody who's probably appointed as a counselor there, and then if if you are a good listener, for example, being a good listener, this is a personal trait, right? So you could be a good listener, and now until unless this is creating some impact at your work and for the company, it doesn't really matter to them. Okay? If you're a counselor and then you are a good listener, then maybe it will make difference because that's your profession. So professional expertise cannot be compromised on. What makes her or him different from others? So why would this person be or you would be an asset to the company or to the organization? That's something that you need to tell the person who is probably going to hire you because they don't know you, you know yourself. Okay, what are his or her hobbies? Sometimes a lot could be understood about a person through their hobbies, right? And then you have what are her or his future plans? What are his or her achievements? Okay, so um, why this is a very common question in interviews because the company when they are going to do this entire process of hiring somebody which is very painstaking process, so if they're going to do this entire process and they're going to hire you, they also need to see what's your vision towards your own growth and your own life and towards the company. So if your plans for future do not align with the plans of the company, or they are not in tandem with each other, they are not mutually beneficial, or it does not align with the plan that company has, then there is that's not a very healthy collaboration. Okay, so this collaboration has to come from a place of mutual benefit, mutual support, right? Mutual growth. Now let us sum it up. So in order to be successful at the workplace, you need to be prepared to speak and write about yourself. What do you need to do? You need to speak and write about yourself. So what I have constantly maintained throughout this session is that if you are going to be generous while recommending somebody else, because you are very sure of the talent that they have. Similarly, you need to be very sure of the talent that you have, and if you know yourself for such a long time, then what you think are your qualities are definitely true. I mean, if you think that you're good at that, then you're also better than that. Now, you need to tell that to the people who are going to hire you. That, see, these are my plus points. So, you need to practice how you can speak and write about yourself in a coherent manner, and in an articulate manner. And how are you going to articulate it if it's a verbal introduction? Then how do you articulate it over text, over speech, that it doesn't come across as some sort of self obsession or exaggeration. So, what you might say is the truth. Maybe it's the truth because you are not exaggerating. But if you're not using the right vocabulary, right communication to express it, then it's probably going to make a bad impression rather than helping you out. So another thing is introduce yourself with confidence, right? Being well prepared to meet new people, meet new challenges, etc. So again, this also comes with practice. What is confidence? Confidence is not something that one is born with. Confidence needs to be developed. Okay, and when you are very sure and when you are very good at what you do, confidence is a byproduct. Right? You also have to give yourself a lot of positive thoughts so that whatever negative thoughts, whatever thoughts which undermine you, take over, you can skip it, you can avoid it, right? So, introducing yourself with confidence, being well prepared, counter those negative thoughts with positive thoughts, increase the strength of your positive thoughts, counter those negative thoughts which make you feel less about yourself. Every time you feel less about yourself, think about something that you have done really well. You know? So similarly, one needs to be very, very aware of their pros and cons, their positive qualities and the shortcomings that they have, so that the shortcomings could be addressed, one could develop themselves regarding this, and the positives that you have that can be utilized to the optimum result. Right? All right. Next is okay. So in this unit, you have also learned about personal, social, and professional qualities needed at work. Okay. So do remember to make that table under those three categories. Look into your book and start start incorporating those words. Okay. Also, you can do this as a personal exercise. Write down personal, social, and professional qualities, and think of the qualities that you have. Because see, personal, although I say that professional qualities are very important, at least for the workplace, for them that might be the most, important thing. But there is life beyond your workplace, and their personal and social skills are very important. For that matter, these personal and social skills also help in your professional growth. So these are add-ons. Okay, but you cannot be bad at your expertise. You cannot be bad at your work, and just expect the company or the employers to sustain with you because you have personal and social traits. Okay? Now, next, you may have read about some you did read about some very successful people. So just go through, that thing on Bill Gates and Sanya Mirza and then Narayan Murthy, read those things. And you also learned how to talk about yourself and write a self-profile. So in the grammar section, you learned how to frame questions and answer them. Go through all of this and thank you. Have a good day.